to us in the morning. It's morning for us. Welcome to Tampa Bay Politics. And I'm Angela Birdsong. I'm your host.
And I'm Tanya Vitovic. I am her guest.
That's right. I am affectionately known as the manicure lead during the week. But one of my favorite things to do is this podcast and talk to really, really interesting people in politics and in the community. And Tanya has an extraordinary story to tell. She's one of our Tampa firefighters. And you know, Tanya, we always start from the beginning. Now, where were you born?
I was born in Lowell, Massachusetts. And I grew up there in eastern Massachusetts mostly. Spent a little bit in New Hampshire, but pretty much spent the time growing up in Massachusetts.
I hear that Massachusetts accent.
Do you?
Yes, it's still with you.
I try to hide it. It comes out when I'm upset. So.
So now, where did you end up going to school out there?
So in Massachusetts, I went to school in Beverly. I got my bachelor's in fine arts.
Okay.
I spent way too much money on a hobby that doesn't make any money.
What kind of hobby is that?
Art, yeah.
Art.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're an artist.
I am. I end up giving away most of my art, but yes.
Okay. So then, after you left school, where did you go into?
So I actually was installing hardwood floors up in Massachusetts, and when I moved down to Florida, after I graduated college, I moved down to Florida, and I started selling flooring, and then which got me into flower sales, and then I actually met my current husband in Miami doing that. We moved to Tampa Bay, and originally, man, that an ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
So an ex-boyfriend asked me to move down, went down, because I just graduated college and I didn't really have a lot of plans, so.
Okay, and then that didn't work out.
That did not work out. There was a reason why we broke up, yep.
Okay, so then you met a husband.
I met my current husband in a bar in Miami Beach, and so he was a volunteer coordinator with Hands On Miami, and then we both moved to Tampa. He went to school for nursing, and I went to school to be a firefighter.
Now, what is
Hands On Miami? It's a volunteer organization that helps with coordinating volunteers in community projects and community outreach.
Okay, so then you both pursued your careers
Yeah.
at school. So he is currently a nurse.
He is currently a nurse at the VA. Yeah.
And you are currently a firefighter.
Yes, I'm a firefighter paramedic, and I do have to say that the opinions that I express today are my sole opinions. They do not represent my employers in any way.
Okay.
I do have to get that out there.
Now, so you are one of the few Tampa firefighters that's a woman.
We represent women represent about 6% of Tampa, which is better than nationwide. So nationwide, the numbers are only like 2% women, but Tampa is about 6%, but that's still low. It still does not represent our community, so we definitely need to work on increasing it.
Now, you were saying that we're also low when it comes to minorities.
Yep, absolutely. So what the city of Tampa, along with fire departments throughout the nation, we need to do a better job making sure that our fire department is equal and diverse. That includes
Well, I agree with you on that.
women and people of color, because we are, it is pretty much 80% white men in the fire department. And some departments across the nation don't even have a person of color in the department. They've never had a woman firefighter. So a lot of this discrimination is continued, not in just locally, but nationally. This is a problem in nationwide.
Well, you know what? Before we get into recruitment, I want to talk about your personal story and everything that you went through
Sure.
as a firefighter. So, where did you actually start?
So I got hired with Tampa Fire Rescue back in 2008. So I've been on the job for 12 years. I just got my 12 years on November 17th.
Was going along well until
Well, honestly, Honestly, it never went well.
Okay.
My
Okay.
first day on the job, because I'm a vegetarian, I was told I wasn't allowed to eat with the crew. So, and that I was told I was a woman, I'd have to work harder and everything, which,
They told you had to work harder.
yes. But the I figured that it was just a part of how they treated people when you were a rookie.
Okay.
But it never went away. And when I started speaking up on these, it got worse. So there's a lot of issues in the fire department, and I'm not one for being quiet when I see any sort of discrimination or a lack of equality amongst people. And it certainly has gotten me into trouble thus far.
Now, where did they put you originally? Your first assignment?
So my first assignment was at Station 13, which is right near Busch Gardens.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was it. It's one of the busiest stations. And it was a really busy station. And then I've kind of hopped around a little bit. So I've been over on 50th Street right near here, Station 16. I've been on 34th Street, which is Station 10. So I've kind of been around. Now I'm a firefighter in North Tampa, although I'm on light duty right now with a neck shoulder injury.
Oh, I see. Okay. So when your first experience when you were in the station near Busch Gardens, immediately you kind of felt like, hey, I'm a woman and I'm being treated differently.
There's a lot of issues. I was told that women don't belong in the department. Definitely faced a lot of harassment and sexual harassment on the job.
Wow.
Pregnancy discrimination and pregnancy harassment throughout all three pregnancies on the job, which it's something that I didn't fight at first, but my feelings got stronger as I went through. And which every pregnancy I got more and more determined. And also when people started coming to me privately saying that they didn't feel comfortable speaking up themselves because they were afraid of the retaliation, that's when I started being more vocal, because it wasn't just me going through this. And I mean, I had people emailing me as far as California.
Really? How'd they know to contact you?
Because I'm public about this.
Okay.
I'm very public about it, and a lot of people, they read the stories and they read about what's going on, and they say, this is happening to me as well. How can I make these changes? So
now we've heard a lot about the military and sexual harassment.
Yeah.
It's a big deal right now going on with Fort Hood. We actually had a cadet that was murdered. But we don't hear a lot about what's going on for women firefighters.
Well, I think we have like a paramilitary experience, or the way our chain of commands works. A lot of the times you don't hear it because women and people of color are afraid to come forward, because it is known that if you complain, if you put it in writing, it puts a target on your back.
Wow.
And the retaliation is fierce. You may be moved to a busier station, or a station with a captain who is known to not like you, or you may be written up, you may be suspended. I mean, they will find a way to
harass you or get you out.
Yes, exactly. And it happens. I mean, anytime there's a handful of people who I know who were forced out and who suffered discrimination, harassment, who came forward, and they are no longer with the job anymore. So I was lucky enough that after I was terminated.
Now let's go through that. No,
you don't want me to just jump in the middle?
You know what? Tell me what you would consider sexual harassment on the job.
Okay. So I received multiple requests from multiple captains for sex.
Really?
Yes. I had one captain drunkenly text me, you know what I want and everything. And then I had another captain who, when we were outside, he said, no one would notice if we disappeared in the woods for 20 minutes. And another guy, when I was pregnant, another captain on the job, while I was pregnant, say how attractive he finds pregnant women. And then if I ever want to, and, these are people of authority.
Right.
It's inappropriate and it's disrespectful. And then when I said no to the one captain who was texting me, he then made it so that I had to, and mind you, I just had a baby at that time. I was still pumping. He made it so that I couldn't go back to my station to pump. So then on calls, I was leaking everywhere. He made me do like 5 hours of training in full gear outside, loading and unloading 5-inch hose, primarily by myself.
Oh my
So
gosh.
So when I was pumping, they moved me to a busier station so that I had no time to pump.
Wow.
They didn't provide me with any sort of area for pumping. They had, at one point, they tried telling me that I had to pump in the hazardous decontamination room, which is where
Oh my
we
gosh.
decontaminate bodily fluids and chemicals. So there's issues. There's inherent issues. And so me being a professional, a reasonable person, I came to them with lists. These are the areas that we are failing in that we need to change. And I've been ignored thus far.
Now, let's talk about you were on the job for how many years before an incident came about that you were terminated?
Oh, so I was on the job for 8.5 years when I was fired.
Okay, and why did they say they fired you?
They said they fired me because they said that I lied about a document, which is a TFR 10, which says that I'm able to work while pregnant.
Okay.
So but never mind the fact that that document was illegal anyways in the first place, because I wasn't using a doctor, I was using a midwife, and it requires a doctor's signature, and I only need to do it if I was seeing a doctor, which I never actually was. But even still, we proved in federal court that I turned it in with my I think my FMLA paperwork, and they
What
wrote
is
it,
FMO?
the Family Medical Leave Act.
Okay.
So I turned in those together. They wrote it in the logbook that I turned the two documents in together, but only one was handed in. So somewhere along the line, from my chief to my captain, one of those two
documents disappeared.
So we were able to prove that in federal court.
Wow. Now, just going back for a minute, how many women were you ever employed with at your location?
It's been a handful, probably about 6 or 7 over the course of 12 years.
So most of the time you're in the station with just guys.
Yes.
And they feel entitled.
You know, it really just depends on who I'm with. Sometimes I'm with a really good crew and the captain treats people equally and fairly. Sometimes I feel like it's their mission to make life miserable for anybody who is different from they are.
Okay, because they kind of feel women going into the firefighting field is a threat to them.
I've been told that. I don't think that's how everybody feels, but there's enough people that feel that way that make it pretty miserable for the people who potentially are there. So enough people, and unfortunately we're losing a lot of really good firefighters, women and people of color, because this continues. And even the firefighters who aren't willing to leave or speak up, they still end up feeling that way internally.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I mean, I don't see any change happening because the powers that be aren't listening.
And they're in control.
They are in control. It's not going to change unless they actually speak to the people who it affects and gets their honest opinion.
Now, do you want people to contact you if they are having an issue?
They can. Absolutely, they can. I don't know how much help I can be, but I can try to guide them through it. So
how would they contact you?
You can email me at sustainablesafetyharbor@gmail.com, and honestly, you can call me on my cell phone.
What is your cell phone?
978-761-7653.
Say it one more time.
978-761-7653. There's a lot of information out there that is hard to find. It's hard to know your rights, especially your rights as a pregnant firefighter too, because a lot of these rules that were made, like the fire departments typically have been around for 100 years or more. So these rules were based back before they had, where they
Women,
did a lot
before
of
they had women.
and then also scientific studies. So like back then, they were holding their breath to go to fires. They were wearing like just a jacket without pants. They didn't have an SCBA. So a lot of these protocols aren't based on scientific proof. They're just guesses.
Well, we're going to go to a break now, but when we come back, I want to talk more about your specific court case.
Absolutely.
All right.
Been injured, you deserve help from an attorney that knows how to handle your injury claim. This is attorney Clinton Parrish from the law office of Clinton Parrish. For over a decade, I worked for insurance companies, and now I use that knowledge and experience to help people that have been injured. For a free consultation, call me, attorney Clinton Parrish, at 813-413-7924. That's 813-413-7924, or at parishlawoffice.com. At the law office of Clinton Parrish, we take the pain out of being hurt. Offices, Riverview.
The Storks are bringing me a baby brother! We can do this together!
All right, let's go!
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
But
Oh my gosh, you don't know!
I know!
You don't! Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No!
Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this!
You will rock this!
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. Cool. Very cool. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
How to find each other.
The whole experience was fine.
Most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you know what time it is.
Grab some lunch and let's talk business with Cheryl Cuso every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m.
This is how it should be done.
Listen in on In Touch Radio.
Okay, we're back. Thank you so much for joining us for Tampa Bay Politics. And not only do I talk to politicians, I also talk to movers and shakers in our community. And I'm so proud today because we have one of our Tampa firefighters.
Yes, thank you. My name is Tanya Vitovic. It's funny, I have been called a rabble-rouser a couple of times. A term I wear proudly.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, now your whole story about how you were fired from the fire department and fought and retained and got your job back was a huge story in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And happened a little while ago, so people may not be, it's not in the news right now, but when it happened, it was very, very consequential.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell me.
Consequential in the community, but not consequential in the fire department. Unfortunately, no changes have been made, and also nobody was ever disciplined who did the harassing, which that is disappointing. But it still, nevertheless, showed them exactly what can happen. And unfortunately, it was at the cost of the taxpayers. But
right.
So I would love to see our mayor and city council actually make the changes to prevent this from happening in the future. So.
All right, let's talk about your specific case and what happened with you.
Absolutely. So I've had 3 pregnancies on the job with Tampa Fire Rescue over the course of 12 years. So I faced discrimination, harassment throughout each pregnancy. Each pregnancy, I spoke up. I made numerous requests for changes. I was told by the personnel captain at the time that I should have just kept my legs closed. When I announced that I was pregnant. I was, forced on light duty. I was taken off fires. But the biggest thing that was actually that caused them to lose the case was they failed my yearly evaluation in my 3rd pregnancy, citing the reason was because I was pregnant.
That is why you were fired.
No. So the reason why I was fired is because they said that I lost that paperwork, which was later found out that either the captain or the chief, that the captain or the chief disposed of the paperwork. So they said that I lied. It came out that they lied about this. So the actual firing and the reason why, well, they are related and they're on the same page, but the reason why they said I was fired was they said that I lied about that paperwork. But what led up to that was a part of it. And it was funny because Mayor Buckhorn...
But really, the pregnancy is what led to them wanting to fire you.
Yeah. Well, and I've been speaking up for years about women, discrimination on women and people of color for years in the fire department, so that they already wanted me not in the department anymore anyways. This was just the icing on the cake for them.
I see. I see. This was an excuse because they really didn't like Tanya and all the things that Tanya had to say.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So with the fire department, for my captain at the time, my captain at the time, Captain Gillen, he failed my yearly evaluation, citing I was pregnant.
Okay.
The Chief Bogish, signed off on it, agreeing that I that one of the reasons why I was being failed was because I was pregnant. I told them, I said, this is illegal. This is pregnancy discrimination.
Yes.
Could you please change it to, and now mind you, this failing evaluation was only failing by 1 or 2 points. If they had taken that off of it, I would have received a passing evaluation.
Okay.
So the points where they did fail me, I said to them, you need to change this. This is illegal. They doubled down and when it went up through the chain of commands, the fire chief signed off on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they all agreed that I was allowed to have a failing evaluation for pregnancy, for being pregnant. So again, I said, this is illegal. There are your rights. There are laws out there protecting women, people of color, pregnancy. You have to abide by these laws. And they said no, it went through. So I did not get my raise this year. So then I filed and I told them, I said, if you don't take off the pregnancy portion of it, I am going to file a charge with the EEOC. I thought that when I looked at the EEOC, I thought they were mediators. I didn't understand that they didn't mediate. So that was my bad. So I was like, look, I'm going to file a charge with the EEOC. I filed a charge with the EEOC for it. They found it went up to the Department of Justice, and they gave me a right to sue letter. And I was like,
so did you actually sue them?
I did. Well, so again, they didn't offer any mediation, though. That was one of my problems, is that there are these two government entities that aren't really helping resolve any problems, which they should. They should be helping the community. The EEOC and the Department of Justice, they need to try to mediate because it saves time in court and it saves money out of pocket, both for the residents, the community, and also for the city of Tampa. Because in the end, this lawsuit cost the city of Tampa's residents over $1 million.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I didn't get all that money, but as far as paying their lawyers, paying my lawyers, that money could have paid for women's bathrooms in the department, because 60% of the stations in Tampa Fire Rescue still don't have women's bathrooms. And we have had a department women have been on the department for almost 50 years now.
And even when they build new buildings?
So the newer stations do have a women's bathroom in them.
Okay.
But they are one single stall. The men get multiple stalls, even though there's been numerous times where there's been 3 women and 1 man. So 3 women are sharing one bathroom, and then the men have,
multiple stalls.
Multiple stalls.
Yes.
So, and when I was pregnant, I was locked out of bathrooms for hours on end.
Oh my gosh.
Because I've been stationed at stations where there are no women's bathrooms. It's a joining station. So it's one big bathroom area. So I was locked out multiple times for hours on end, and my only other option was to go to the bathroom inside of the fire captain's private quarters. So if I had to use the bathroom, I had to knock on his door, get his permission to use the bathroom. And if he was sleeping or anything. It was very awkward. It was very
Right.
uncomfortable. And I don't think anybody should have to ask permission to use
go to the
restroom.
bathroom.
Plus, it's something private. He's literally would be it's in his bedroom.
Oh, wow.
It's very, I mean, the whole situation is awkward. And there's no reason why when making any sort of like changes to the, there's no reason why we should be repaving and putting in all this new landscaping if we don't even have women's bathrooms in the stations.
Well, let's get back to
Sorry,
your
got off track.
specific lawsuit.
Yeah. So pretty much, yes, getting back to that, so I filed the charge with the EOC, and then I filed suit when they still said that they were unwilling to change my evaluation. I filed a lawsuit. They fired me the next day.
I see. That is when the actual termination happened.
Yes, the very next day.
Okay. So then, what was your course of action after that?
After crying?
Okay. I know. Being fired is horrible.
No, I'm an emotional person. I care a lot. And I don't see crying as a bad thing, honestly. If I wasn't caring, then I don't think I would be doing half the things that I am. So I wipe my tears, I brush my shoulders, I stand back up, you keep going.
Right.
As I think that a lot of the community organizers do.
Yes.
Because it is a painful task to put this work in and fighting an administration that isn't willing to listen. So I had my lawyer, and I number one started looking for a new job.
Okay.
Because I knew it was going to be a long fight. I did file a grievance with my union. My union ended up voting not.
What is your union?
It's the International Association of Firefighters.
Okay.
So they voted not to arbitrate. So that means it was going to be my cost. I had to put up the cost. Luckily, I had a lawyer who said that she would. So I had a lawyer where she said that she would pretty much only get paid if I win. She got a certain percentage, but I had to pay for all the filing charges, the filing costs, and everything, which totaled over those 2 years was like $35,000.
Wow,
it's a lot of money for someone to pay for fighting for their own rights.
So what did you have to do? Get a job?
Oh, I tried. I put in about 200 job applications. At that point, I was not hireable.
As a firefighter?
As anything.
Anything?
I put in jobs for everything. I put in jobs for firefighters, for paramedics, for EMTs, at hospitals. I eventually got a job because my neighbor's son was a supervisor at a parks department. So I actually became a park employee.
Okay.
Which actually was awesome.
Okay.
But it was $11 an hour, which
as compared to,
right now I make $63,000 a year. I make a lot of money. Firefighters make a lot of money.
Right.
So so I understand why firefighters are fearful about speaking up, because for me, I work full time. My job supports my entire family. Okay. My husband works 1 day a week, primarily for the health insurance. So when I lost my job, financially, we didn't have a real income for 2 years.
Okay.
So because of the fact I wasn't really hireable, I was making $200 a week for the parks department. It wasn't really anything. That is another reason why we need to fight for better pay in the community, because if you're not paying a livable wage, you should not be able to be an employer and not pay a livable wage in here. I'm all about not for a fight for 15, I want to fight for 20. But so for the next 2 years, I worked for the parks department, and I was working with Wendy Bush, who was my lawyer, and we filed suit, and we did everything, and we went through to federal court by jury, and then it was a 3.5-week trial by jury in federal court where we sued the city of Tampa.
Well, don't want this to be a cliffhanger, but we're at break time again.
Okay. I'll let you know what happened later.
Okay. So are we ready to take a break right now? Yes, we are. Here we go.
this is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
Shining star for you to see what your life can truly be.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
In Touch Radio.
Hello. Welcome back to Tampa Bay Politics. And I am still talking with one of my most exciting guests. Her name is Tanya
Vidovic.
Vidovic. Woo. Okay. And she is currently one of our Tampa Bay firefighters. Yeah.
Firefighter,
She's a lady
paramedic.
firefighter and paramedic too. And she has a very, very interesting story because she was actually fired from the Tampa Fire Department and regained her position back by fighting hard.
Absolutely. It was a long struggle. It was a 2-year battle, but we went through federal court and by jury. It was a 3.5-week trial, but we did win. We proved that Tampa Fire Rescue in the city of Tampa discriminated against me for pregnancy discrimination. So,
and they put it in writing.
Oh, everywhere. They provided us with like 22,000 documents. They were proud of the fact that they discriminated against me. The amount of men that went on the stand admitting to harassing me, admitting to locking me out of bathrooms, admitting to writing me up, admitting to taking me off fires, like they proudly admitted. Even the fire chief at the time, again, this is in court for pregnancy discrimination, admitted to just skipping over a woman for a promotion because she was pregnant, and he told her that she could apply again after she wasn't pregnant again. And the federal judge just looked at him and said, do you know why we are here today? Like, you're gonna get yourself, like, literally, they don't know. So I did win. I got my job back. I got back pay, which was marvelous. Unfortunately, it did cost the taxpayers a lot of money between my back pay, paying my lawyer and their lawyers. I mean, it must be $1 million. This should not happen. If there's a reasonable solution that doesn't cost any money with just changes of policies, we need to do that. Because we owe it to the people, to our employees, to the community, and to our taxpayers.
And could you just step into the 20th century, please?
Please, thank you.
My gosh.
So and the thing that got me too is that once they realized that they were not going to get disciplined, the people who actually harassed me, it emboldened them. The three of my main harassers have even been promoted since then. So not only were they not disciplined, they were promoted. So what does that tell the harassers? And then what does that tell the people being harassed?
That's right.
It makes
not even though you won, a lot of people are not going to want to endure what you endured.
Who would? And people reach out to me privately saying, what can I do? What should I do? And the first thing I say is, are you okay with being fired? Mm-hmm. Are you okay with retaliation? How much does this mean to you? And it's definitely, thank you. So it's definitely, it's a battle, but it's a battle worth fighting for, because if you don't take it on, somebody else is going to be enduring it. So these are changes that need to be made, unless the current administrations and the current people in charge are willing to listen to the people who it affects and make the proper changes. And I've asked them, I have a list of pretty much 18 things that need to happen, not only in my department, but in departments across the nation, because this is not a rare thing. So there are suggestions that I have that you should call your local commissioners, your local city council, your local mayors, and ask them, if these policies are in place, if the firefighters have these as an option, and if you don't mind, I would love to go through them.
Okay. Now, we have people out there listening right now who live in the city of Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
We have people out there listening now who live in Hillsborough County.
Sure.
And Pinellas County.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the city of Tampa. If someone is living in the city of Tampa and they want to know what's going on, are women firefighters being treated fairly? Are they being? Can we get black firefighters on onto the department? Period.
We need to increase it. We need to increase the amount of black firefighters, people of color, minorities, women. We need to increase the number to reflect the community, because right now it is not. There's no reason why there should be multiple families with the same names. There's no reason why you should get a job just because your grandfather was a firefighter once, and that continues down the line.
Nepotism.
Yes,
a
100%.
big issue.
It is.
And police departments too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you need to contact your mayor. You need to contact your city council if you live in the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County. Now, or in Hillsborough County, you can contact your county commission. If you live in Pinellas County, the same thing, your county commission. So whoever your elected officials are, you contact them.
Now, give me an idea of how many black firefighters we have right now in the city of Tampa.
Out of 700, probably less than 100. I don't want to say a number specifically because
Okay.
I'm not really sure. I know it's about.
But it does not represent the community.
It does not. It absolutely does not.
And there's plenty of room for improvement.
There is. When I saw many people of color who applied who were dismissed to make room for a nephew of a firefighter. So there's issues, and I saw there was one PAT that I sat in on where
what is a PAT?
A physical agility test that I sat in on during my first pregnancy, where there was a woman of color, and she outperformed every single person there, and they ended up disqualifying her for reasons that were discriminatory, to say the least.
Did you say that they suspected she was pregnant?
That was the conversation that I heard and participated in, and I ended up with a number of captains on the job getting in my face and screaming at me when I spoke up against that sort of mistreatment and discrimination. Unfortunately, there's a lot of good people out there that would be amazing on this job that are being looked over. And also for promotions, because if the people if it is only available to you for these promotional activities, it is known that a promotion usually comes with, a hunting trip or a boat trip. You bring you bring the people who are in charge of promoting you on a hunting trip and a boat trip, magically you get promoted. Or you get these training opportunities. Yeah. It's not fair. So somehow, if you don't have a charter boat, if you don't have hunting, or if you just don't feel like that is the way that you should be promoted,
right?
There needs to be equal opportunities.
That's very much a boys'
everybody.
club.
Yes, there needs to be equal opportunity for everybody. It really for promotions, for hiring, for everything. For the diversity advisory board, it was supposed to be a minorities advisory.
You requested that there be an advisory board, correct?
A minorities advisory board is something that I fought for years, and eventually it was a part of my negotiation with the union, because I did file a suit against the union when they voted not to arbitrate for me, and they called it, I think, a human relations board instead of a minorities advisory board. So the problem is that it was supposed to be made up of only minorities, people of color, and women. And there's white men sitting on this board.
Only white men?
No, not only. Not
okay.
only. But still, they have enough say. They have enough power already. We don't need their voice. Their voice is already being heard.
Correct.
So, and I
do you know how the people are selected to be on that board?
Before it was appointed. But then when I applied and I was denied twice, I asked for an appointment and they said no. All of a sudden the rules changed, and then it had to be voted on. I'm not winning any votes.
Right.
So I was not selected.
Oh, talking about winning votes, you are a prior candidate, former candidate.
Yes, I did run for mayor of Safety Harbor. Yes.
Okay, go for the gusto there.
The current mayor is a very he's got issues. He said a lot of racist things. He said a lot of sexist things. He voted to take. There's some major issues with him. He's very yes. There's a reason why I ran against him. He's definitely a bully in the community, funded and supported by developers. So I did.
I had the same issue with the county commission. I ran against Ken Hagan, big in the pocket of developers.
And unfortunately, if they can raise 10 times more than you can, there's no fighting it. And I mean, the developers, they were bullies. Honestly, there was fake websites about me and everything. So it was a lot to go through dealing with those. But either way, I'm sure that's not what you want to hear about.
Hey, we want to hear about politics here.
Yeah, that is
Tampa Bay politics.
Yeah. That is true.
But I will say you do have an uphill battle in Pinellas County. It's definitely not as blue as Hillsborough County.
Yes, and it really isn't. Unfortunately, and I should have known getting into it. And I knew. I mean, I ran as an environmentalist, far left Democrat in a Republican area.
Yes.
Surrounded by Trump signs. So I knew that I wasn't going to win, but it did bring the discussion to the table.
That's important.
And I did get I worked with a member of the community, and I was actually able to get a Black advisory board to the commission because of this. So I was actually able.
That's important.
It is. Absolutely, because was a lot of racism happening and continue to happen in my city where I live. So, it's all about bringing the discussion to the table. I didn't need a position. I didn't need to be mayor, but I still want the changes to happen.
Right. Now, someone living in the city of Tampa, what can they do to help?
Well, they have to contact their mayor. They have to contact Mayor Jane Castor. They have to contact their city council members. They can call me. I will give them I'll give you the email addresses and say,
we do have some very good people on the city council right now. Louis Vieira is very open.
He's very aware of the issues. Bill Carson's very aware of the issues. The problem is whether or not they feel like they have the support of the community, if they have the support from the mayor. I would love if the mayor wants to reach out to me.
Okay.
If she wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to sit down and make the suggestions. If you're listening, Mayor Castor.
You have to reach out to Tanya because Tanya cannot reach out. That would be out of the chain of command, right?
It breaks my chain of command for me to write her about it. But the invitation is out there. I would love to sit down and have a meeting. Yeah.
Yes, I think that if she really understood all the good things that you could bring to the firefighting department, I think she would want to hear that.
And I do have and I'm happy to go over the list of things.
Okay, let's talk about a few of them.
And if you
we're going to have a break soon, so we'll start with a few and then we'll continue.
Absolutely. So the first thing is using inclusive language. A lot of the language is he. And so instead of saying he, she, there's also in the past a lot of people who are non-binary. So if we just change the language to they, there, it's a lot more respectful because in the end, it's about being respectful. Having a fire department pregnancy policy. After losing this much money and this much time and losing in federal court over pregnancy discrimination.
I'm shocked that they haven't made any changes.
How do they not have a pregnancy policy? Like, it is literally going to happen again if they do not make these changes.
Right.
So I have a lot of recommendations. And again, if you have to make it welcoming to people who are pregnant on the job and to families. And it is a vital part of making it understood that women are respected and welcomed to this job. So it has to be a non-discriminatory policy. Right now, the policy, if you are pregnant on the job, you are either full duty full duty,
okay.
or you are light duty on a 40-hour work week. So it's a complete change of your schedule, which a lot of the times you already have other children. You can't go from working every 3 days. Like my husband's job, his schedule is set far in advance. I can't move to a 40-hour work week and have it not affect his schedule. And that was one of the biggest things with my third child. While I stayed on duty, full duty, until I was 9 months pregnant.
Okay.
But I requested to go on light duty and maintain my schedule, and they denied me. So you have to make it reasonable and have options for women, because some women want to go to a 40-hour work week, but some don't. Some it's inherent.
And this is not a work-at-home job.
This is not a work-at-home job, no.
So we're going to
break.
take a break now and come back with some more suggestions and a call to action, what people can do.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's getting warm in here.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to a good friend of mine.
It's the Dash and Dale Day.
Put your hands together.
Jazz at Miss Connie's house. Ooh, on In Touch Radio.
Hello, Kubo. What have you got planned for today?
Come on, this way.
Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals.
Wow.
And beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm gonna do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
Listen to In Touch Radio anywhere. On your phone.
I'm listening right now, man.
In your car.
I'll keep that going.
On your computer. It's a new world, baby, and we are global. In Touch Radio.
We're back with Tampa Bay Politics and with my really exciting guest, Tanya. And she is one of our Tampa Bay firefighters. And boy, has she had an experience to talk about. But after being fired and regaining her position after a jury trial,
forcibly reinstated, I say.
Forcibly reinstated. She is bringing to us some things that you can help in your community to help improve your local fire department. So let's continue.
Absolutely. So I was talking about pregnancy policy, the fact that pregnancy policies, progressive pregnancy policies, don't exist in fire departments. That is something that needs to change if we are truly welcoming women on the job. Or anybody who's pregnant on the job. So there needs to be options out there for women. So my suggestion is to create a pregnancy policy that allows the pregnant employee to choose to go on light duty and maintain their schedule to have the option of being fifth on an engine or third on a rescue, so they can still participate in 90% of the calls, but then also step back if needed. Choose a 40-hour work week, that is what is forced upon you right now. But have the 40 hours be chosen by the employee, whether or not you want 4 10-hour shifts or 5 8-hour shifts or 3 13-hour shifts. Because a lot of the times you're working around your partner's already established schedule.
Right.
With my third pregnancy, my husband would have had to quit his job if I was to go on their light duty.
I see.
So we can't have my husband quit because I was already on the verge of being fired anyways. So that would be losing 2 positions. Add a non-discriminatory breastfeeding policy. Like I said before, during my first pregnancy, they told me I had to pump in a hazardous decontamination room. For my second pregnancy, I was peeped on multiple times because I had to do it over pretty much sheets hanging from the ceiling. With my third pregnancy...
So you had no privacy for breastfeeding.
No. And then for my third pregnancy, they moved me to a busier station so that I had no time to pump. So there's issues that need to happen in order to make it so that they're able to do that. We need to have women's bathrooms in the station. I requested 10 years ago that they make a 5-year plan for adding women's bathrooms to the station. If they made, back in the 1980s, FEMA and OSHA made the recommendations that all fire departments move to single stall bathrooms. So it's one bathroom, one shower, one sink, one toilet. Because that gets rid of a lot of the sexual harassment that happens in the bathrooms.
I see.
And discrimination that happens in the bathrooms. So they need to add women's bathrooms, and then all new stations need to have single stalls only. And I mean, I was being reasonable. 5 years is a reasonable amount of time. And honestly, the amount of money that the city of Tampa spent fighting me for pregnancy discrimination, they could have added all new bathrooms to all the stations to add women's bathrooms and still had money left over to assist with our ill-fitting gear.
Now, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think they could do to get more minority firefighters hired?
They are already applying. We just need to hire them.
Okay.
Like literally, when every single class out there has enough minority firefighters applying and passing that we could hire the whole department over. So there is no reason why we are hiring any class and only hiring one person of color or two people of color.
Do you think that we need quotas, affirmative action?
Absolutely, because otherwise we are going in the realm of, well, so-and-so's nephew is applying, so he gets the position.
Nepotism rules.
Absolutely. So if anything, I feel like we need to hire only minorities in the Tampa Fire Rescue until we are at least
Well, they're not going to do that.
So you know what? If one is acceptable,
Next
then,
option.
So then majority. Only women and people of color until it actually.
They're not going to do that.
But why
But
not?
at least if we could
If
get.
they have entire class of white men that are mostly related to other people on the job, then why not?
Well, at least if we could get some more African Americans or women on a regular basis being hired, I'd be happy with that.
Hired and promoted.
Yes.
Because it's important. Because if the higher ups are if they don't see it as a problem, nothing's ever going to change. And it's never going to change if they never went through the issues.
Now, what else did you have for us?
Oh, I've got a list.
Okay.
The city needs to maintain a diversity harassment and sensitivity training, because a lot of the times
Diversity training, absolutely.
If it's how it's always been, it will never change. And I went through, after requesting it, I went through the city's diversity and harassment training, and we were trained by a person who is known on the job by harassing people.
Oh my gosh.
So nobody took it seriously because he made a joke of the entire thing. So nothing is going to change. It needs to be trained. It needs to be by a third party, not other firefighters training. Because this guy, he was like, so it's inappropriate if I do this, and then he went up and like brushed himself against women on the job. Like, no, like you are just. They need to do better. And again, these changes are simple.
Yes.
They are simple. That it just needs to happen. So. All investigations of harassment need to go by a third party, excluding names, because unfortunately, they go to the same people who are often harassing you. For instance, for me,
this is the problem they had in the armed services as well.
For instance, with me, I was being harassed by Jace Cohan, and I was supposed to go and let Personnel Chief Jace Cohan let them know that I was being harassed by the same person.
Right.
And then at that point, he was also the union representative. So then I could go to the union representative, Jace Cohan. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way out. But unless we have higher ups that are understanding, and so that's why you need to take the names out of it. You need to make this anonymous, because as soon as I file the complaint, they immediately tell everybody. So then the people who know in this department, they know that if they file the complaint, everybody's going to know. It's not secret, especially if it's a sexual harassment complaint.
Oh, all that should be confidential.
It should all be confidential, yes. So let me see. Add policy that harassment, discrimination, and retaliation is grievable, because right now it is not grievable from the union. So if I get harassed sexually harassed, I cannot file a grievance. I have no way of complaining about it. Because, and the IAFF says in their Human Relations Manual,
What is IA?
International Association of Firefighters, says that it is supposed to be grievable, but our local union does not allow it to be grievable.
Your local union.
But it is a negotiation through the city, so they both need to come together and say, yes, this is something that we need to make grievable.
Okay.
Okay, let me see. Next on my list is gear that fits.
Okay.
Our gear, women's gear, does not fit correctly. So it is often like my pocket where I'm supposed to keep my radio is covered by my strap. My SCBA pack does not fit my waist. It never gets small enough. So the gear does not fit.
Now, is there actually gear for women, or or is it just men's gear?
No, there is gear for women.
Okay.
Right now they're altering men's gear. So when they alter men's gear, my neck, my neck piece that is supposed to be this big covering my neck, it went over my eyes.
Oh
How am I supposed to be in a fire if I can't see?
Oh my goodness.
It's a safety issue. So in reality, I ended up taking used gear because the new gear they bought me didn't fit, and they didn't want to alter it. So there's issues. The jackets don't fit correctly. My sleeves go past my fingers half the time. The raincoats, they only get extra large or large. The vests, again, are mostly large, extra large, 2X. So there are issues as far as getting
not
proper
for the size
gear
of
that
a
fits.
normal woman.
No. And let me see. So increasing promotional opportunities, I talked about that. Making advisory boards. So the city needs an advisory board to, again, separate advisory boards, Black advisory board, women advisory board, and LGBTQIN advisory board, folks with disabilities advisory boards. Because unless you have lived it, you can't speak for it.
You cannot speak for it, absolutely.
Yes. So they need to be listening to people who have actually lived it, who it's going to affect them. So discipline should be investigated by the third parties and have it be genderless, so it's not an issue, to make sure that so they're not protecting so and so's nephew. He doesn't get special treatment because he has
related
this last
to somebody
name.
in power.
Yes. And also, it shouldn't, and that's also opposite. I shouldn't get treated worse because I'm a woman.
Right.
You should not get extra disciplinary action because you're a person of color.
Right.
So they need, because right now, there's issues with that, and it needs to be addressed. So, and allow for anonymous reporting if it includes proof.
Okay.
Because right now people are afraid to come forward. They don't want their names on it because they know there's retaliation. If there is proof, you should be able to submit it. Because there's no, I don't have a way of, there's no yearly evaluation higher up. My captain does an evaluation on me, but I don't do an evaluation on my captain or my chief. So if they're doing something illegal.
So once they get to a certain level, there's no evaluation.
Well, it's by their higher up.
Okay.
So there's no way for me to report something without going to HR, and then it's immediately public.
I see.
So a lot
of
things,
confidentiality. That's that needs to be part of their
absolutely
their standard.
One thing is mental health days. So firefighters are the increase in suicides for firefighters is a lot. We need mental health days that aren't gonna your yearly evaluation. If you take a mental health day, you shouldn't get marked down.
Wow.
If there is a death on the scene, you need somebody to call you. Is there something in place that calls you if you see a child die? So these are services that, again, should be out there, because and typically it's just a captain saying, you okay, you okay, you okay, you okay, everyone's okay, good. No, I'm not okay. I'm nightmares for 2 weeks and whatever. Like, it's not okay. We need to make sure that people are okay, because it is a tough job that we're in. Another thing,
even if there's just a number they can call, would be helpful.
Yes, absolutely. And have it not, and there's a basic phone number, but it's definitely you need somebody personalized.
We're down to our last minute already. Can you believe that?
I can't. One other thing is the apparatuses. A lot of the times, if I'm 5'4", I cannot reach the pedal on half of the apparatuses.
You mean the fire trucks?
Yes. So when I'm driving, on half of the apparatuses, I have to sit on the edge, which makes it so that I cannot wear my seatbelt safely. This is a problem for anybody under 5'6", pretty much.
Well, once again, if there are people who are firefighters or who want to assist with making the departments better, you want them to contact you?
They can contact me. I'm happy to give suggestions. My name is Tanya Vitovic. You can reach me at 978-761-7653 or email me at sustainablesafetyharbor@gmail.com. But most importantly, contact your local commission, your local city council, your local mayors, and ask them if they are doing these 18 things that I have listed, because they are vital to having a healthy department, a growing progressive department.
And believe it or not, writing letters does work. Your county commission does look at those letters. Your city councilman write a little editorial to the newspaper.
Absolutely.
These things work.
Absolutely. Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really been a pleasure. Thank you for everything you do here, because it's good community work. Really is.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. That's Tampa Bay Politics.